start? Okay. Thank you, Spriya, for taking your time. And initially, first, happy International Women's Day to you.
Happy International Women's Day to everyone.
So today, as I introduced that Spriha is a psychologist, so today in conversation with Spriha, we will express or we will explore a true essence of feminism, a unique mental health challenges that women face in their workplace or in their personal lives, and how they can navigate career growth while prioritizing self-care. These are certain things that we're going to talk about. And so, Haspriya, welcome to the panel. And it's great to know about your achievements that you have so far. But before we go forward with our agenda today, I would like to know something about you, how your journey so far has been, why you chose psychology, and how's your life going?
Yeah. So hello everyone. I am Spriha, and I completed my bachelor's in applied psychology from Delhi University Gargi College. Then I completed my master's in psychology from IP College for Women. And from the beginning, I have been passionate about advocating about women's rights and issues. And for a while, I worked with an organization called Yodost, where I worked as a counseling psychologist. I practiced as a counseling psychologist. And then for about 3.5 years, I have been working with an organization called Sangat. It's a research organization, and I work as a research coordinator there. And we work with ASHA workers primarily. And we are basically working on testing the effectiveness of a positive psychology based coaching intervention. So we are primarily working with women. So women's issues is at the forefront that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. So yeah, so I have been a vocal advocate of women's issues throughout from my bachelor's days. In fact, if I tell you very honestly, I was called bossy at the age of 8 because I wanted to become the class monitor. So I have been confronting I have been confronting these issues since the age of 8. So it's been a long journey, to be very honest. And I was a gender champion also in bachelor's. So this is a UGC recognized title that you give women who are a part of the women development cell. And we basically dealt with the issues that women face in the college premises. And we also organized events around women's issues and did a lot of things. So yeah, that was about my journey.
Thank you, Spriya, for sharing with us. That you said you're being called bossy, and when women come up with a lot of when they're being vocal around the community, they have been often called as feminism. This is a word that we hear a lot these days. So, and it has always been misunderstood or judged as anti-men also. So, from your psychological perspective, how would you define feminism, its true essence, and what is, and also telling more about your journey on if you have faced any issues on feminism or people being portraying to you?
Yeah, so how many of you have actually heard about He for She by Emma Watson? Yeah, okay. So this is a movement where men are told to be equal participants of equality, and where men should be equally participating in the movement for equality. So actually, to be very honest, feminism is not about superiority. It is about equality. It is about equality of rights, values, and respect. So each gender, irrespective of gender, and also the fact that gender exists on a spectrum, we need to acknowledge that gender now exists on a spectrum. It's not binary. And it's about dismantling systemic barriers and confronting the rigid gender roles. Feminism is also true. Feminism is actually, when we talk about feminism, true feminism is actually intersectional, and in its true essence, it's very inclusive. So, irrespective of caste, class, or background, feminism is about equality for all, right? So it is intersectional. How many of you have heard about intersectional feminism? Anyone? So so intersectional feminism is basically when we take into account the layers of identity. Any individual comes in this world with with layers of identity. So we belong to a particular class, we belong to a particular caste, we belong to a particular background. Now, all these actually give us a unique position in the society and affect us uniquely. These all these things affect us uniquely. So yeah, so that was about feminism.
Feminism.
Yeah.
So, in your conversation we have listened a word called barriers. So, what are these common myths about the mental health challenges that women face in their professional or personal life?
So, actually, to be very honest, because of lack of access to rights and lack of access to basic amenities in healthcare, a lot of women face a lot of challenges and issues in general. So there are challenges like societal expectations, then there are challenges like domestic violence, then there are challenges like workplace discrimination and unpaid caregiving responsibilities. All these challenges actually lead to women facing a lot of mental health issues, and this is heavily tied to mental health issues. All these issues, all the facts that women face, all these things like societal expectations and domestic violence, this leads to women actually facing trauma, then depression, anxiety, and many other mental health issues. And there are a lot of researchers that have claimed direct correlation between people facing people facing domestic violence and people having trauma, because the consequence of domestic violence is trauma. There is someone who is facing domestic violence will obviously come to a psychologist with trauma. And there are other layers, because we talked about intersectional feminism, who is more vulnerable to facing domestic violence. If there is a layer of caste, there is a layer of class. So a Dalit woman might be more prone to facing domestic violence. Why? There are reasons, and there are researches on this. So yeah, so that is what I wanted to share on this particular.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Today, obviously, appreciate the answer that you gave about the common myths and everything. But initially, if you look at, not lot of women were actually working, but now the scenario has been changed and women are coming forefront on working in our corporates. You, me, a lot of women here are working. So, and workplace, and I think today we spend a lot of time at our workplace also. And today, workplace dynamic plays a very significant role in our mental health, irrespective of women or men, for everybody. So, how, as a professional environment, or this professional environment impacts the woman's health and overall well-being these days?
Yeah, so first of all, I'd like to address this question on the basic issue here is that first of all, women face this double burden. They have to work at home also, and they have to work in the office also. And it is often called a superwoman syndrome because they are expected to be superwomen, where they are working working efficiently, not just okayishly, but efficiently at home also and in office also. And they are expected to, these are the societal expectations, they are expected to give their 100% at both the places, which is difficult, which is very, very difficult, and it affects mental health and well-being to an extreme extent. And given that the workplace dynamics are such that at times when women speak in meetings, they are not heard. When women speak the same thing as their male counterpart, they are not acknowledged, but the same thing, if a man will speak, they are acknowledged. So these things happen, and these things happen very rampantly. So the workplace dynamics are such that they are against the women. And promotion cycles, when we talk about promotion cycles, the women have to prove themselves twice as compared to men. And other things like imposter syndrome. When we talk about imposter syndrome, and does anyone know what is imposter syndrome? It is, yes, it is extreme self-doubt about everything that you do. So you indulge in extreme self-doubt because you're constantly fearful of what the other person will say, or what the other person might think about our next action. So there's constant evaluation, judgment, and fear of evaluation that women are undergoing. So, so these workplace dynamics and imposter syndrome and all these things actually work against the women. And these are nothing but societal expectations. These are nothing but rigid gender norms that are there uh, in the society, in the workplace dynamics. So yeah, so I think I answered your question.
Yeah, but I have a follow-up question on this is that because you said there's imposter syndrome and women are not being taken up a very, I think, capable or skilled person when it comes to men. So how they juggle on actually growing in the organization, because then you have to take multiple responsibilities, you have to multitask, manage both in personal and professional life. So if your experience with women's, how they deal with this dynamics or moreover in professional career choices.
So as I mentioned earlier also, they have to juggle between responsibilities. They have to juggle between, and I don't know if I'm striking a chord with a lot of women, with some women, that they actually have to juggle between their personal and professional responsibilities. Now the problem here is that we are conditioned to think that abandoning ourselves and not taking care of ourselves is actually nice, is the norm. But that is not true, because the only way we can actually get out of this problem is to prioritize ourselves, and to and if you are not financially free, you should be financially free. If you are not prioritizing yourself, you should prioritize yourself, because self care if you're not prioritizing yourself, you are just prioritizing others, you are abandoning yourself. And I know we are told to take care of others, be givers instead of taking care of yourself, because when we start taking care of ourselves and we start prioritizing ourselves, we are tagged as selfish by the society. So that is the problem. But let them tag you, let them call you bad, but please prioritize yourself. That is the only way you can get out of this problem.
Thank you, Spriya, for really pinting that point. And I always believe that workplace stress.
And I'm sorry, one more thing. Go to therapy. Go to your activities you love. Go to anything that you really like. Do things for yourself. That actually helps, because a lot of women right now come with a lot of trauma, intergenerational trauma, and they don't know how to break that cycle. And breaking that cycle actually requires going to therapy. And therapy is nothing that one should be ashamed of. It is something that actually gives you perspective. So I think women should actually break that cycle, and they should go for therapy, they should go to things that they like, and they should prioritize themselves.
So actually, that was my question to you, that workplace stress actually affect men and women in different ways.
Yeah.
Right. So that was my question, that what are the ways or the steps that the woman or anybody should follow to get rid of workplace stress, because you cannot take that stress back home. Obviously, you have to leave it there and move ahead in life. And in Bhopal, because most of them, what are the options available with us, and what are the ways to really cope up with this work stress?
Yeah, so as I told earlier also, one of the ways in which you can cope with this stress is to do things that you really like, and to prioritize yourself, and to also go for therapy, which will ultimately help you. Options available, I think definitely I can share it with Aviral, and he can probably share it with others. And options I will share, and that will definitely be shared with you all. And apart from that, I think I have covered on this topic. Yes.
So talking about myself, if I have a work stress or any stress in life, the best way for me is to have a good food.
Yes.
Good food. To go in a cafe, whatever I want to have it, it's a pizza, it's anything that would help me to put that down. I think I would love it and I will take it, irrespective of thinking about calories in life, which I obviously don't think also. But I think that I say a lot of people ki you do not know how much you will live. So it's better to be happy and do things If food makes you happy, food. If travel makes you happy, go for a travel. Be stressed and give priority to yourself. And nowadays I actually do to my mother, ki do things. Your kids will grow, will go from the home, they will have their life, and you will stuck in your home. Which, and we as a kids we love them, but we also didn't have lot of options. We know we have
Yes.
to move. So it's very important that also, not to ourselves, at least let's engage our parents or mothers especially to
Yeah.
some activities around and make them busy.
Yes.
Right. So, and coming to our last question is the women empowerment. Right. And I want you to put your words on women empowerment basically here. And it can be, it's not about doing anything very professionally, it's also to our mothers also. They are also working hard for us. And I think because of them, we are able to go to work. And I very personally say I'm very कहते हैं ना, privileged that I get everything on a platter. So, what according to you is women empowerment?
So now these days we call it pink washing. These days empowerment is actually packaged as gifts and served to you by advertisers, and they are like, if you do self care, you will be empowered. If you do this, you will be empowered. But empowerment, I think, is a very personal choice, and it is about choice only. The fact that you're able to exercise your choice, it is empowerment. So I'll tell you a story actually. I was in my masters and I was doing एक मैं वो कर रही थी, असाइनमेंट कर रही थी, और उस असाइनमेंट में आई हैड टू understand the meaning of life, which is a very abstract question, right? And I chose my participant as a person who used to clean the floors and who was basically, so I wanted to understand their way of understanding life. And one of the questions in that assignment was, what is empowerment to you? आपके लिए सशक्तिकरण क्या है? So I asked her, and I was very blood boiling. When you are in masters, you are so for feminism and everything, and you are very pro empowerment, but your worldview is also limited. So I sort of, what I did was, I asked her, what is सशक्तिकरण? आपके लिए सशक्तिकरण क्या है? आपके लिए empowerment क्या है? So she said, for me empowerment is actually doing things for my husband, doing things for my children, and doing things for others. That is empowerment for me. And I was so angry. I was like, she is not prioritizing herself. She is not doing things for herself. This is not empowerment. And I tried to impose my understanding of empowerment onto her. And I was like, कि empowerment का मतलब ये नहीं होता है. Empowerment का मतलब ये होता है. And then I went to my supervisor. And she said, why are you imposing your understanding of empowerment onto her? It is not what you think empowerment should be for her, it is what she thinks empowerment is. And if she has a choice, she will think that empowerment is actually doing things for her husband. So, yeah, that is how she finds pleasure in life. That is how she thinks. So, which can be debated again, but I think it's best to actually leave it up to the women to understand what is empowerment for them, to actually make a choice, to actually understand and feel from within that this is how I feel empowered, instead of actually imposing. Because Western feminism teaches us to be individualistic, to be individual driven, where you are doing things for yourself, and that is what feminism is, that is what empowerment is. But that is not true. We have to be collectively empowered, and for being collectively empowered, it is important to actually understand what your meaning of empowerment is, what your meaning of life is. So yeah, so that was a story that I wanted to share with all of you, and it was very impactful for me. So I felt that it would probably strike a chord with some of you.
Thank you for sharing that story. I think I also believe that let her do what she wants to do, and we are nobody to judge either our mothers, either our friends, nobody. I think it's important to at least take their perspective, what they feel in life, and it's very important to listen, right? So thank you, Spriya. It was a great talking to you. I'll just have last question to you is, what women should do for their well-being, how they should, and it's very important to prioritize the mental well-being, which we do not do at some point in time. So what is your advice to them?
Again, I will say please prioritize yourself, but at the same time, do what you like to do. Again, it's very difficult to actually understand what you like, right? It's a very difficult, it's a journey actually to understand these are the things that I like. Am I being influenced by others? Is it really my choice? Or am I being influenced by others? So, which is a journey in itself, which you will, which is your personal journeys, which is all of your journeys. And I would just recommend that you prioritize yourself and do things for yourself, and definitely therapy. Please go to therapy. Everyone, go to therapy. Yeah. Yeah.
So so now I'll open the floor for the audience. Anybody who wants to speak or talk to Spriha, please, Neha.
So my question is, what is your opinion on, see, for example, from the households I come from and a lot of women come from, there, when you study good, when you earn good, you get a choice to live your life.
Yeah.
But those choices are not given until and unless you showcase your parents or your family that you are capable of something.
Yeah.
So that is, what's your opinion over this scenario?
There's a term for this. It is called good girl complex. So if you are a good girl, you will be given what you deserve. Otherwise, you are not considered worthy of respect, love, and care, which is sad actually, because as men, I'm sorry I'm comparing right now, but men are, it's okay for men to falter and be flawed and commit mistakes. But when women commit mistakes, they are highly judged and they are not valued equally. So I totally agree with you that we have to prove ourselves 2 times more to actually be a good girl, and to actually prove that we hold value. So that is actually true. Thank you for highlighting that. Yeah.
Now
Any-
the scenario has changed actually.
Mhm.
Earlier things were really different. Now the girls and women have started really prioritizing themselves and becoming good girl otherwise also. You know. Like,
Yeah.
they are, yes, because the family, what I see, like I am now 72-year-old and of course by God's grace, as you said that you are privileged and I was also privileged. Everything I got on a silver